welcome to Historic Adventures on YouTube. Today we're journeying back in time to the majestic Brougham Castle. Strap in and let the adventure begin. Nestled approximately 2 miles southeast of Penrith in the picturesque region of Cumbria, England, stands the imposing edifice of Brougham Castle. This medieval marvel finds its roots in the early 13th century, a testament to the vision of its founder, Robert I de Vieux-Spont. But the story of this location extends even further back in time. Long before the castle's stone walls dominated the landscape, the Romans discerned the strategic importance of this locale. Situated near the juncture of the rivers Emont and Lowther, they established a fort here known as Brougham. Today, both the Roman fort and Brougham Castle are celebrated not just for their individual historical significance, but for their collective chronicle of a region shaped by successive civilization. Recognising this rich tapestry of history, the site has been duly honoured as a scheduled monument under the title Brougham Roman Fort and Brougham Fort and Brougham Castle. In the initial phase of its construction, the castle boasted a robust stone keep, encircled by fortifications that included a formidable earthen embankment and a towering wooden palisade. At the time of its inception, Robert de Vieux-Spont stood as a rare beacon of loyalty to King John amidst the local nobility. The de Vieux-Spont lineage wielded significant influence in northwest England, holding dominion over other significant fortresses like Appleby and Brooke. Yet in the year 1264, fate dealt a harsh blow to the family. Robert de Vieux-Spont's heir, also christened Robert, was branded a traitor. King Henry III promptly seized their vast properties. However, the wheel of fortune turned once more, restoring Brougham Castle and its sister estates to the de Vieux-Comtes. This restoration was short-lived, for by 1269, through the intricate weave of marital alliances, the estates transitioned to the stewardship of the Clifford family. In 1296, as the Wars of Scottish independence erupted, Brougham Castle took on a pivotal role in the strategic machinations of Robert Clifford, the first Baron de Clifford. Recognising the castle's significance, Clifford embarked on a substantial upgrading project. Gone were the outdated wooden defences. In their place rose imposing stone walls crowned with a grand stone gatehouse. Such was the prominence of Brougham and Clifford standing that in 1300 King Edward I of England graced the castle with his presence. However, the tides of fortune are ever changing. By 1322, Roger Clifford, Robert's heir, met a tragic end, executed on charges of treason. Subsequently, the vast Clifford estates temporarily came under the purview of King Edward II of England. But with the ascension of Edward III, the estates were restored to the Clifford lineage. Yet Brougham's geographical location meant that it was perpetually vulnerable to Scottish incursion. And in 1388, the Scots seized their moment, capturing and plundering Brougham Castle. In the annals of history, we find that the Clifford family, renowned landowners of their time, increasingly favoured their other strongholds, notably Skipton Castle in Yorkshire. As the years rolled on, Brougham Castle saw the footsteps of various Clifford generations, witnessing sporadic use as their familial abode. Yet by the latter stages of the 16th century, specifically 1592, the castle's once grand edifice showed undeniable signs of wear and neglect. This was in part due to George Clifford, the 3rd Earl of Cumberland, who was often drawn to the southern regions of England, given his prestigious position as the Queen's champion. Despite this period of decline, the early 17th century heralded a rejuvenation for Brougham Castle. It was refurbished to such a grandeur that, in 1617, it played host to none other than King James I of England. In the year 1643, the esteemed Lady Anne Clifford came into possession of vast estates, among which were the iconic castles of Brougham, Appleby and Brougham. Determined to restore these historical jewels to their former glory, she embarked on a journey of renovation. Under her care, Brougham Castle experienced a brief renaissance, standing tall and magnificent. However, the years following Lady Anne's passing in 1676 saw the decline of this grand structure. The Clifford estates fell into the hands of Thomas Tufton, the 6th Earl of Thanet. By 1714, the castle's opulent furnishings were sold off, and the once majestic edifice was left to battle the ravages of time. Devoid of its former splendour, maintenance became an onerous burden, leading to its unfortunate abandonment. Yet even in its decaying state, Brougham Castle continued to inspire. The legendary artist J.M.W. Turner immortalised it on canvas, while the renowned poet William Wordsworth evoked its spirit, not just in the opening lines of his celebrated work, the Preludes, but also in his tribute, sung at the Feast of Brougham Castle upon the restoration of Lord Clifford, the shepherd to the estates and honours of his ancestors. In a turn of fate, the 1930s saw the castle being entrusted to the Ministry of Works. Today, it stands under the guardianship of English Heritage, a testament to its enduring legacy. Perched at the convergence of ancient Roman pathways, the grounds of Brougham Castle have long held strategic allure. In days of antiquity, the Romans established the fort of Brougham here, harnessing the innate protection offered by the nearby rivers, Emont and Lother, which unite just westward. The verdant surroundings, with its abundant fertility, wasn't just conducive to military endeavours, it also beckoned civilian communities. As they settled, life thrived in the shadow of the fort. When the Angles later graced this region, they dubbed it Brougham, a testament to its origins, translating to the village by the fort. In the sweeping stretch of time between the 5th century, when the Romans relinquished their dominion, and the late 11th century marked by the Norman conquest, Cumbria was a nexus of upheaval and change. Despite its strategic positioning, there's a conspicuous absence evidence to suggest that Brougham was strengthened or fortified during these tumultuous centuries. It was in 1092 that William II, often referred to as William Rufus, took command of the region south of the Solway Firth, thus redrawing the boundaries considerably north of Brougham. Notably, even in the wake of this significant shift, Brougham's grounds remained untouched by battlements or fortifications. It was the formidable Carlisle Castle that guarded this frontier, while the bastions of Appleby and Brougham, situated southeast of Brougham, stood sentinel, safeguarding vital routes between Carlisle and the expansive landscapes of Yorkshire. In the year 1203, King John of England entrusted the barony of Westmoreland, comprising prominent towns like Appleby, Brougham and Brougham, to a devoted supporter, Robert de Vaux. Spon, within the shifting sands of allegiances in northern England, Viewspont emerged as a rare beacon of loyalty for the king, amidst an ever-growing wave of discontent that would soon culminate in rebellion. By 1214, Viewspont's influence expanded, bringing half the manor of Brougham under his dominion. Amid these turbulent times, the imposing structure of Brougham Castle began its rise. In the vast expanse of northern England, a select few stalwarts stood loyally by the king. Loyally by the king. Viewspont, a prominent figure among these supporters, wasted no time in leaving his mark on the land he acquired. It's believed that he immediately set about constructing what we now recognise as Brougham Castle. The early form of the castle wasn't the grand stone structure we might visualise today. Instead, it started its life humbly, encapsulated by a formidable earthen bank which was then crowned by a wooden palisade, showcasing the strategic defensive structures of the era. A notable fragment from this inaugural phase is the Stone Keep, spanning an impressive 3 stories. Entry to this keep wasn't as straightforward as one might assume. Visitors would enter through the first floor, ushered in via a distinct 4-building. Adjacently to the east, a sturdy stone edifice stood tall, most likely serving as a hall for gatherings and important deliberation. As we delve deeper into the annals of history, Brougham Castle unveils its tales of loyalty, strategy, and architectural evolution. Delving into the annals of architectural history, one swiftly realizes the magnitude of investment, both in terms of time and resources, that went into constructing edifices of stone. Precise financial records detailing the expenditure on Brougham remain elusive to historians. However, glimpses from other historical constructions provide a window into the expenses involved. Peveril Castle's stone keep, erected in the late 12th century in Derbyshire, is believed to have required an investment of approximately £100. Contrastingly, the monumental Chateau Gaillard, a testament to medieval grandeur, demanded an astounding £15,000 to £20,000 for its completion, a project spanning several years. In the year 1216, the Eden Valley faced a formidable threat. Scottish forces, under the command of Alan of Galloway, invaded the region, laying claim to Westmoreland. Amidst this backdrop, Brougham Castle remained conspicuously silent, offering no resistance or defence. Historians speculate that the castle's construction was yet to be completed, thereby explaining its lack of involvement. It wasn't until Alan's withdrawal in 1217 that construction likely resumed, facilitated in part by the revenues from Cumberland handed to Robert de Veuxhont. The castle's foundation was strategically placed over the ruins of an ancient Roman fort, with materials salvaged from the ruins probably incorporated into its walls. However, fate threw a curveball in 1228 when Robert de Veuxhont met his untimely demise. John, his only surviving son and heir, was too young to inherit, and as a consequence the Veuxhont estates, including Brougham Castle, fell into a period of neglect. John de Veuxhont's life was tragically cut short before he could even inherit, and in a twist of fate, the estates once again went into wardship as his son Robert was also underage. Robert eventually came of age around 1257, but inherited not just lands, but also substantial debts. History records him as one of the rebellious northern lords during the Second Barons' War, standing alongside Simon de Montfort from 1264 to 1264 to 1267. Tragically, by June 1264, Robert's life came to an end. Being labelled a traitor, his assets were seized by King Henry III. However, in a posthumous act of clemency in 1266, King Henry III pardoned Veuxhont. The Veuxhont lands therefore passed to Robert's 2 daughters. As they were too young to assume control, guardians took over. These guardians, seeking to intertwine their fates with the Veuxhont legacy, divided the land with marital schemes in mind. Isabel Veuxhont's hand was given in marriage to Roger Clifford, the son of one of the guardians. With this union, key territories like Brougham and Appleby castles, along with the shrievalty of Westmoreland, transitioned to the control of the Clifford family. By the latter half of the 13th century, Brougham Castle witnessed an intriguing chapter of history under the ownership of the Clifford family. By 1269, the union of Roger Clifford and Isabel Veuxhont not only conjoined 2 influential families, but also transferred the custodianship of Brougham Castle, along with other notable properties, into the hands of the Cliffords. However, fate was to throw in its own twist. In 1283, the untimely demise of Roger Clifford left Isabel a widow, and she herself passed away by 1292. This set the stage for a precarious period in the castle's history. At the tender age of 18, their heir Robert Clifford was yet to reach the age where he could assume direct control over his inheritance. This brief interregnum of 3 years saw the Clifford estates bear the brunt of neglect and rampant poaching. But as the curtain rose on the wars of Scottish independence in 1296, Robert Clifford emerged not just as a steward of his family's legacy, but as a pivotal figure in this historical saga. Brougham Castle's strategic northern location rendered it indispensable in the grand scheme of this conflict, making it Clifford's primary stronghold. Consequently, Robert spent significant periods within its walls, deeply entwined with its daily affairs. Under his aegis, Brougham Castle underwent significant architectural transformations. The earlier timber defences which encircled the castle gave way to a more resilient stone curtain wall, signifying not just a practical upgrade, but a symbolic assertion of the castle's prominence in the tempestuous times of the late 13th century. In the castle's southwestern quadrant rises a majestic 4-storey stone tower, known as the Tower of League. During a notable period of reconstruction, an additional floor was annexed to the primary keep, enhancing its grandeur. To its northern facade, a formidable double gatehouse was appended, a testament to the castle's defensive priorities. Further south of the keep, the establishment of a new stone hall speaks volume. Its presence could hint at an expanded garrison during wartime, suggesting heightened defensive needs. Alternatively, it could have been erected in hopeful anticipation of a visit from royalty. In the summer of 1300, the illustrious castle designer, Edward I, travelled to Brougham accompanied by a vast entourage and the young Prince of Wales. Although historical records aren't definitive about whether Edward I lodged within the castle's walls, most scholars posit that he likely did. By 1309, Robert Clifford received the coveted licence to crenellate Brougham Castle. Such a licence not only permitted the fortification of a structure, but also symbolised the monarch's favour. After all, it was the monarch who granted this esteemed permission. Tragically, Edward I passed away in 1307, and his successor, Edward II, found himself embroiled in internal disputes, which allowed the Scots to venture deeper into English territory. Around 1310 or 1311, Skipton Castle was entrusted to Robert Clifford. Positioned further from the volatile border than Brougham, and amidst escalating Scottish incursions into Westmoreland, Clifford redirected his attention and resources to fortifying Skipton. However, fate was unkind to Clifford as he met his demise at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314, halting the English advance into Scottish land. In the aftermath of Robert de Clifford's passing, the title and estates poised to be inherited faced a momentary hiatus. His heir, Roger de Clifford, the second Baron de Clifford, was a mere 14 years old, too young to assume his destined role. As a consequence, the Clifford territories endured yet another phase under the stewardship of Guardians. This was a tumultuous period marked by relentless Scottish incursion. Such were the damages that, in 1317, the monarch saw fit to award Roger a sum of piece 200, an aid intended for the upkeep of his fortresses. Bartholomew de Badlesmere, the first Baron Badlesmere, assumed the responsibility for the maintenance of several Clifford assets, among them the Brougham Castle and the Appleby Castle. In a span of just 2 years, between 1316 and 1318, Badlesmere allocated 363 to sustain the garrisons of these two pivotal strongholds. Yet his endeavours were not solitary. The king extended a generous sum of pids 1270 in support. But gathering resources from the Clifford domains was no straightforward task, and the garrison found themselves mired in accusations of poaching and unauthorised appropriation of goods. By 1320, the youthful Roger Clifford took possession of his legacy. However, tales whisper that his heart and presence found more solace at Skipton. His fate took a tragic turn in 1322 when, post his capture at the Battle of Boroughbridge, he faced execution on charges of treason. This grim chapter saw Brougham Castle and other Clifford territories seized. The king, in a gesture of gratitude, bestowed them upon Andrew de Harker, a loyalist who had sided with the crown during the rebellion. But political landscapes are ever shifting. Within a year, by 1323, Harcla himself was branded a traitor and met a similar grim fate as Roger. Subsequently, Brougham Castle transitioned into the hands of King Edward. A brief respite dawned in May of the same year, when the Scots and English penned a truce which led to a marked decrease in the militarised presence across the northern English territory. In the historical tapestry of England, the transition from Edward II to Edward III marked significant shifts in land ownership. With Edward III's ascension to the throne, Robert Clifford, the younger sibling of Roger, was bestowed with a majority of the territories that had previously been seized. By the year 1333, Robert managed to consolidate his control over all the vast estates once held by the Vieux-Saint lineage. The year 1332, however, heralded a resurgence of tension between England and Scotland. Edward Balliol made his ambitious move to claim the Scottish crown, though his reign was short-lived as he was ousted from Scotland by the end of 1333. Upon his retreat to Westmoreland, Balliol found sanctuary among the Cliffords, seeking refuge within the walls of historic castles like Appleby, Brougham, Braw, and Pendragon. Robert Clifford's involvement in these renewed skirmishes between the neighbouring nations was somewhat subdued. He participated in battles during 1332, 1337, and 1342, yet the ramifications of these conflicts were felt at home. When Robert's estates were appraised posthumously in 1344, the properties, including Brougham Castle, bore the scars of war. Evidence pointed to the castle's neglected state, a once majestic structure now grappling with decay after a decade devoid of maintenance funds. However, hope and restoration were on the horizon. After 2 successive periods of young heirs, the title and responsibilities fell upon Roger Clifford, the 5th Baron Clifford, who reached his majority in 1354, heralding a new chapter for the Clifford estate. In the mid-14th century, a significant truce was brokered between Scotland and England, lasting from 1357 to 1384. Roger Clifford, a prominent figure of this era, was frequently found in Appleby, the county town of Westmoreland. Nevertheless, it was at Brougham Castle where his architectural influence became evident. Clifford spearheaded the reconstruction of its domestic edifices, notably the Grand Hall. The king's mandate for Clifford to sustain a formidable troop of 40 men at arms and 50 mounted archers in the vicinity of the western Scottish border offers a clue. It's plausible that this military obligation, likely requiring garrisoning at Brougham, demanded additional accommodations, prompting the construction efforts. However, the relative peace was disturbed in August of 1388. Scotland launched a bold incursion into English territory. While one faction forged east, culminating in the pivotal Battle of Otterburn in Northumberland, a secondary force struck westward. This latter force ventured as far as Brough, a mere 20 miles or approximately 32 kilometres southeast. Amidst these tumultuous times, Brougham Castle momentarily fell into Scottish hands. Thank you for joining us on a journey through time at Brougham Castle. If you've enjoyed this glimpse into history, please consider giving us a like and subscribing. This has been another episode of Historic Adventures. Until next time, see you soon.